Ambassador Velth leaned back in his observation chair, his three-fingered hand adjusting the optical sensors mounted above his workstation. The screens in front of him glowed with a soft blue light as Earth's application file scrolled past. For the past 6 cycles, he had been reviewing applications from potential species hoping to join the Galactic Council, but this one was different. This one was genuinely interesting. Ambassador, you need to see this. Prella, his assistant, bounced excitedly beside him. Her antenna twitched with barely contained glee as she pulled up a new data stream. The humans just uploaded their cultural showcase files. Velth watched the footage with growing fascination. The humans were small by galactic standards, standing only about 6 feet tall at their highest. They had smooth skin in various shades of brown and pink, with hair growing only from their heads in different colors and styles. But what really caught his attention was what they were doing. One video showed a human male sitting on soft furniture with a small furry creature curled up in his lap. The creature was tiny, with pointed ears and a long tail, and the human was gently stroking its fur while the animal made a strange rumbling sound. The human's face showed pure contentment. He looked completely at peace. They keep other species as companions, Prella noted, pulling up more files. Not for food or labor. Just for friendship. They call them pets. Another video showed humans gathered around a long table covered with food. They were laughing, passing dishes to each other and talking animatedly. Some were very young, others were clearly elderly with gray hair and lined faces. Multiple generations all together, sharing a meal. The warmth between them was obvious even through the screen. They bond in family groups, Velth observed, making notes. Strong social structure. Emotional displays are common and accepted. The next file made Prella gasp with delight. A human female was working at some kind of desk when she noticed a small 6-legged insect crawling across her papers. Instead of crushing it or calling for removal, she carefully cupped her hands around it, walked to a door and released it outside into their natural environment. The care she took with such a tiny creature was remarkable. What's her designation? Velth asked. Captain Beth Miller, Prella read from the file. She's one of their space program commanders. Multiple advanced degrees in science and engineering. She's leading their delegation if we approve them. Velth watched more footage of Beth Miller. She appeared to be in her mid-30s by human aging standards, with dark hair pulled back from her face and quick, intelligent eyes. In every video she showed the same gentle patience. Helping a younger crew member with a problem. Sharing her food with others. Even talking softly to their ship's automated systems as if they were alive. The cultural files went on and on. Humans created something they called art for no practical reason except beauty. They made music that stirred emotions. They wrote stories to entertain each other. They spent enormous amounts of time and resources just making each other laugh. They even have a practice called hugging, Prella said, pulling up a definition. They embrace each other to show affection and comfort. Look, Ambassador. They do it when they're happy, when they're sad, when they greet each other, when they say goodbye. Velth felt a warm feeling in his chest chamber. In all his years evaluating species for council membership, he had never seen anything quite like this. Most species were efficient, logical, focused on advancement and resource management. But humans seemed to prioritize connection and emotion above almost everything else. He pulled up their technological assessments. They had achieved faster-than-light travel, yes, but their ships were decorated with personal items. Their space stations had gardens growing plants just for beauty. Their military vessels had recreation rooms and kitchens designed for communal dining. Every human space was designed not just for function but for comfort and happiness. They appear entirely focused on cooperation and bonding, Velth said, completing his assessment form. Physical aggression seems limited to organized sports and entertainment. No evidence of recent major conflicts. Their last global war ended over a century ago, and they've maintained relative peace since. Prella nodded enthusiastically. They'll be perfect for diplomatic roles. Imagine having humans at cultural exchange events. They'll charm everyone. Velth typed his final classification into the system. Species designation, human. Category, companion species. Threat assessment, minimal. Recommended roles, diplomacy, cultural exchange, entertainment liaison, morale support. Combat capability, not applicable. He paused at the approval button, taking one last look at Beth Miller's file. She smiled in every photo, her eyes crinkling at the corners. She looked kind, harmless, sweet even. They'll make wonderful additions to our community, Velth said, pressing the approval confirmation. The council will adore them. The application processed in seconds. Humanity's request for Galactic Council membership was approved with the highest recommendation. Within hours, the invitation was transmitted to Earth. Velth sat back, satisfied with his work. He had found the perfect new species for the Council. Gentle, social, emotionally intelligent creatures who would bring warmth and friendship to the galactic community. He had no idea how wrong he was about the threat assessment. But he would learn soon enough. The transport ship docked at Station Unity with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Ambassador Velth stood at the arrival bay, his assistant Prella bouncing excitedly beside him. They had been preparing for this moment for weeks. The humans were finally here. The airlock opened and 12 humans stepped through. They all wore matching dark blue uniforms with patches on their shoulders, but what struck Velth immediately were their faces. Every single one of them was smiling. Not the formal, diplomatic smiles he was used to from other species. These were genuine, wide grins that made their eyes crinkle at the corners. Captain Beth Miller stepped forward first. She was exactly as she appeared in the files, but somehow more vibrant in person. Her dark hair was neatly tied back, and when she extended her hand in the human gesture of greeting, her grip was warm and firm. "Ambassador Velth," she said, her voice filled with genuine excitement. "Thank you so much for having us. We've been dreaming about this moment for generations." Within the first hour, Velth realized the files hadn't done humans justice. They were even more delightful in person. Beth introduced her crew one by one, and each human seemed genuinely thrilled to meet every alien on the station. They asked questions about everything. Where did the Verlani come from? What did Prella's species eat? How did the gravity generators work? Could they try the local cuisine? The humans had brought gifts. Beth presented Velth with a small wrapped package, showing him how to tear the decorative paper. Inside was something called chocolate, small brown squares that melted on the tongue with an incredible sweetness. Another human, Lieutenant Tyler Hayes, distributed bags of something called coffee beans, explaining with enthusiasm how to brew them into a hot drink. "It's a stimulant," Tyler said with a grin. "We drink it every morning. Thought you might enjoy it." Tyler was tall for a human, with short brown hair and an easy, relaxed manner. He seemed content to let Beth lead, but Velth noticed he was always watching, always aware of his surroundings. His eyes tracked every corridor, every junction, every control panel they passed. The third human who stood out was Chief Engineer Amy Wright. She was shorter than the others, with red hair and an infectious laugh. Within 20 minutes of arriving, she had convinced 3 of the station's engineers to give her a tour of the maintenance levels. "I just love seeing how different species solve the same problems," Amy said cheerfully. "Your power distribution system is fascinating. On Earth, we use a completely different configuration." The station's head engineer, a crystalline being named Court, was utterly charmed. "She asks such intelligent questions," he told Velth later. "And she genuinely listens to the answers. Most species just nod politely." By the end of the first week, the humans had become everyone's favorite visitors. They organized what they called a potluck dinner, where each species brought food from their homeworld. The humans brought something called pizza, which was apparently bread covered with cheese and vegetables. They taught the station's crew a card game. They started a music exchange program where different species shared their favorite songs. Beth seemed to be everywhere at once, always smiling, always asking questions, always making people feel valued and heard. She remembered everyone's names after meeting them just once. She asked about their families, their homeworlds, their interests. During one diplomatic dinner, Velth found himself so charmed that he reached out and patted Beth on the head, the way he might pet one of the domestic animals on his homeworld. It was meant affectionately, a gesture of fondness. Beth's smile didn't falter. "That's very kind of you, Ambassador," she said warmly. But for just a fraction of a second, something flashed in her eyes. Something that wasn't quite friendly. It was gone so fast that Velth thought he imagined it. The humans even bonded with the station's automated systems. The maintenance drones that floated through corridors performing repairs had never been named before. They were just units with identification numbers. But one morning, Prella discovered that the humans had started calling them by names. "That one is Buddy," one of the younger humans explained, pointing at drone unit 7A. "And that's Sparky, and that one's Zippy because it moves really fast." "They're machines?" Prella said, amused. "Sure, but they work hard," the human replied. "Everyone deserves a name." It was adorable. The entire station staff agreed. Humans were precious. But there were small things. Things. Things that only made sense if you were paying very close attention. Tyler Hayes spent a lot of time near the viewports, gazing out at the stars. Except Velth noticed his eyes weren't really looking at the stars. They were tracking the station's external sensors, the defense platforms, the docking configurations. When he thought no one was watching, Tyler's expression became focused, analytical. Amy Wright had befriended engineers in every critical section of the station. She knew how the power systems worked, how the life support functioned, how the gravity generators operated. She asked her questions with such genuine enthusiasm that no one thought twice about answering. Another human, Kevin Walsh, had somehow gotten himself assigned to work with the security team. Just to learn, he'd said cheerfully. Now he knew the patrol routes, the shift changes, the emergency protocols. Beth herself had attended every single briefing, every meeting, every tour. She knew the station's layout better than some species who'd lived there for years. But they were all so nice about it. So friendly. So eager to learn and participate. They're perfect, Prella sighed happily, watching Beth teach a group of young Verlani children a human game called hopscotch. I wish every species was this delightful. Velth agreed. The humans were everything he'd hoped for and more. He just didn't realize they were also preparing. The alarm started as a low whine that quickly built into a screaming wail. Red lights flashed throughout Station Unity, bathing the corridors in bloody illumination. Velth was in his office reviewing supply requests when his screen suddenly changed to show the tactical display. His heart froze. 20 ships had just dropped out of hyperspace. Big ones. The distinctive angular design was unmistakable. Kroth Raiders. The worst pirates in this sector of the galaxy. They didn't negotiate. They didn't take prisoners. They boarded stations, stripped everything of value, and left corpses floating in the wreckage. The automated emergency system activated immediately. All council members proceed to secure zones. All companion species report to designated safety shelters. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Velth ran for the command center, his legs shaking. Prella was already there, her antenna flat against her head in terror. The tactical officer, a heavily armored Korthan named Vex, was coordinating the station's defenses, but everyone knew the truth. Station Unity was a civilian installation. They had basic shields and a handful of defensive weapons. Against 20 Kroth warships they would last maybe 15 minutes. The command center doors burst open. Beth Miller strode in and Velth felt a moment of relief. At least the humans would be safe in the shelters. Ambassador, Beth said, and her voice was nothing like he'd ever heard before. Gone was the warm, friendly tone. This voice was cold, crisp, commanding. I need access to your defensive grid. Now. Velth stared at her. What? No. You need to get to the shelters. You're civilians, you don't. Tyler, override it, Beth said, not even looking at him. Tyler Hayes appeared from somewhere behind her. His relaxed, easy manner had vanished completely. He moved to a control panel with frightening speed, his fingers flying over the interface. That panel controlled the station's core defensive systems. It should have taken authorization codes that Tyler couldn't possibly have. Except the system unlocked under his hands. How did you? Velth started. Amy, where are you? Beth spoke into a communication device. Engineering Deck 3, Amy Wright's voice came back, all trace of her cheerful laugh gone. I'm rerouting power from non-essential systems to shields and weapons. Give me 30 seconds. Kevin, status? Beth continued. Environmental controls are mine, Kevin Walsh responded. I've got access to life support, gravity generators and airlock commands for all sections. Velth felt like the floor had dropped away beneath him. The humans had been on the station for 3 weeks. How did they have access to everything? What are you doing? He whispered. Beth finally looked at him. Her eyes were hard, focused, calculating. This wasn't the woman who had laughed at his jokes and shared chocolate with the station's children. This was someone else entirely. Our job, she said simply. The first Kroth ship fired. The station shuddered as weapons impacted the shields. On the tactical display, Velth watched 3 Kroth boarding vessels detach from the main ships and streak toward the station. They're going to breach sections 7, 9, and 12, Vex reported, his voice tight with fear. They'll be through the hull in less than 2 minutes. Let them, Beth said calmly. What? Velth and Vex shouted together. Beth was already moving to the main tactical console, pushing the regular officer aside without apology. Her fingers danced over the controls like she'd been using them her whole life. Tyler, I need firing solutions on the command ship. Target their engine signatures specifically. Amy, when I give the word, I need all available power to forward shields. Kevin, prepare to vent sections on my mark. The Kroth breached the hull. Alarms shrieked as hull integrity failed in 3 locations. Velth pulled up the security feeds with trembling hands. Croth warriors poured through the breaches. They were massive creatures over 3 meters tall, covered in thick armor plating. Each one carried weapons that could tear through steel. They were unstoppable. Section 7, Gravity Reversal now, Beth said. On the security feed, Velth watched something impossible happen. The gravity in Section 7 suddenly flipped. The Croth warriors, each weighing over 300 kilograms, were suddenly yanked upward. They floated helplessly, their armored bodies tumbling through the air, unable to gain purchase on anything. Airlock 7A through 7D open, Beth continued, her voice steady. The outer airlocks opened. Atmosphere rushed out in a violent explosion. The Croth warriors were pulled along with it, sucked screaming into the void of space. In 10 seconds, Section 7 was clear. Section 9 Life Support Vent, Beth ordered. Kevin's voice came back. Venting coolant now. The temperature in Section 9 dropped to minus 200 degrees in under 5 seconds. The Croth warriors advancing through the corridor stopped moving, their bodies flash-frozen mid-step, coated in crystalline ice. Section 12, Beth said, and something that might have been satisfaction flickered across her face. Amy, electromagnetic field activation. Activating now, Amy responded. Section 12 was a cargo bay. The Croth had sent 30 warriors through that breach, clearly intending it to be their main assault point. The cargo bay's loading systems included powerful magnetic fields for moving heavy containers. Amy cranked those fields to maximum. The Croth warriors' armor was metal. Strong metal, but metal nonetheless. The magnetic field grabbed them and slammed them against the walls with bone-crushing force. Those that tried to advance found themselves unable to move, their armor pinned by forces they couldn't fight. Kevin, seal bulkheads around all breach points, Beth ordered. Isolate them completely. Throughout the station, blast doors slammed shut, cutting off the breached sections from the rest of the facility. In less than 3 minutes, the Croth boarding parties had been neutralized without the humans firing a single shot. Velth stared at the screens in shock. The station's own systems used as weapons. It was brilliant. It was terrifying. Tyler, do you have those firing solutions? Beth asked. Locked on their command ship, Tyler confirmed. Engine clusters targeted. Fire everything we have, Beth said. Aim for their propulsion only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The station's weapons, usually meant for asteroid defense, fired in a concentrated barrage. The Croth command ship's engines exploded in a shower of debris. The massive warship went dark, drifting powerlessly. The other Croth ships stopped advancing. Their boarding parties were gone. Their command ship was crippled. They'd expected an easy target, a civilian station that would fold immediately. Instead, they'd run into something they didn't understand. Send them a message, Beth said quietly. Tell them if they don't retreat in the next 60 seconds, we'll start targeting life support on every ship. Her smile was cold and sharp, nothing like the warm expression Velth had grown to know. Tell them the humans are done playing nice. The Croth fleet jumped to hyperspace 37 minutes after Beth Miller's ultimatum. Velth watched them disappear from the tactical display, still trying to process what had just happened. The station hadn't lost a single life. The humans had defended them using nothing but Station Unity's own systems, turning civilian infrastructure into devastating weapons. The command center slowly emptied as the crisis passed. Engineers rushed to repair the hull breaches. Medical teams treated the few aliens who'd suffered minor injuries from the sudden gravity shifts and pressure changes. But everyone moved quietly, casting sideways glances at the humans who had saved them. Velth found himself alone in his office hours later, staring at his terminal screen. His hands were still shaking. Something was very wrong with the assessment he'd made. The humans weren't what he'd thought they were. But what were they really? He pulled up Earth's application file again and started digging deeper. The cultural showcase they'd submitted was genuine, he could see that. But there had to be more. He found a note buried in the file structure about an unredacted historical database. With his council clearance, he accessed it. The first file that opened was titled, Human Evolutionary History. Velth read the opening paragraph 3 times, certain he was misunderstanding something. Humans hadn't evolved as gatherers or herd animals. They were persistence hunters. Apex predators. On Earth, their homeworld, humans had survived by chasing prey animals until those animals literally collapsed from exhaustion. They could run for hours, days even, never stopping, never giving up. They would track wounded prey for weeks if necessary. The file showed footage of ancient human hunters. They didn't have claws or fangs or natural armor. They had endurance and intelligence. They would injure an animal, then follow it relentlessly across endless distances until it died from blood loss and exhaustion. Nothing escaped them. Nothing outran them. They were patient, calculating, unstoppable. Velth opened another file, Earth Environmental Challenges. His blood ran cold as he read. Earth wasn't a garden world. It was classified as a Class 9 death world by galactic standards. The temperature swung wildly between seasons. The planet had ice ages that covered entire continents and glaciers kilometers thick. Humans survived them. Volcanic eruptions that blocked out the sun for years. Humans survived them. Diseases that killed millions. Humans survived them. Predators with teeth and claws and venom. Humans hunted them to extinction. The planet had tried to kill humanity for hundreds of thousands of years. Instead, humans became the most dangerous thing on it. Another file, Human Recreation and Entertainment. Velth had thought their entertainment was charming. Now he saw the truth. Their most popular games were simulations of warfare and survival. Their sports included full-contact fighting where participants deliberately injured each other. They had something called boxing, where two humans punched each other until one couldn't continue. They had mixed martial arts, wrestling, football with massive collisions. Even their children's games involved strategy, competition, and simulated combat. Hide and seek was practice for ambush tactics. Tag was chase training. They taught their young to compete from the earliest age. Their literature made it even clearer. Velth pulled up their most celebrated stories. Tales of impossible battles against overwhelming odds. Stories of small groups holding positions against massive armies. Narratives about humans who looked at certain death and chose to fight anyway. 300 warriors holding a mountain pass. Soldiers storming heavily defended beaches. Crews staying on sinking ships to save passengers. One file showed humans landing on their own moon. They'd strapped themselves to controlled explosives, left their planet's atmosphere, traveled through the deadly vacuum of space, landed on a barren rock and then came home. They did it because they wanted to. Because someone said it was impossible. Velth found footage of human history. Wars that lasted years, decades, even centuries. But also acts of incredible cooperation. When disaster struck, humans ran toward danger to save strangers. They gave up their own safety, their own lives for others. They were both predator and protector, warrior and caregiver. The door to his office slid open quietly. Beth Miller stood in the doorway. Her uniform was torn at the shoulder, and there was a streak of something dark on her cheek, but she was smiling. The warm, genuine smile he'd first seen. Velth felt fear spike through him, but Beth just walked in slowly and sat down across from his desk without being invited. She looked tired. "You're researching us," she said softly, nodding at his screen. "The real files this time." "You deceived us," Velth said, and his voice came out as barely a whisper. Beth shook her head. "No, Ambassador. Everything we showed you was completely real. I do love animals. Tyler really does enjoy sharing coffee and conversation. Amy genuinely thinks your engineering systems are fascinating. Kevin actually did want to learn from your security team. But you're also..." Velth gestured at the screen, at the files full of warfare and survival. "We're also good at surviving," Beth finished for him. Her voice was gentle, kind even, but there was steel underneath it. "We evolved in a world that kept trying to kill us, so we got very good at not dying. We learned to work together, to form tight bonds, to protect our group. That's why we're social. That's why we make friends easily. We're tribal creatures." She leaned forward slightly. "We share food because breaking bread together is how humans build trust. We bond with you because that's what we do before we fight. We protect the pack. And Ambassador, we decided weeks ago that this station, this crew, you're our pack now. The fighting, the weapons, We're good at war," Beth said simply. "We've had a lot of practice. But here's the thing you need to understand, Ambassador. Being good at something doesn't mean we enjoy it. We choose to be kind. We choose to be gentle. We choose to make friends first." She stood up, that warm smile still on her face. "But we're also really, really good at protecting what we love. The Croth learned that today." Velth watched her walk to the door, then pause. "Get some rest, Ambassador. Tomorrow we'll help with repairs. That's what friends do." She left him alone with the files and a terrible new understanding. Humans were everything they appeared to be. Friendly, social, kind, loving. And absolutely terrifying when threatened. The emergency council session was called 72 hours after the Croth attack. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall, a massive circular chamber at the heart of Station Unity. Velth stood at his designated position, feeling the weight of what he had to do pressing down on him. The humans sat together in the visitors section. Beth Miller, Tyler Hayes, Amy Wright, Kevin Walsh and the rest of their crew. They wore their dress uniforms, dark blue with silver insignia. They looked small surrounded by the various alien species, some towering 3 times their height, others floating in specialized atmosphere containers. Supreme Counselor Thexmar, a being whose crystalline body refracted light into rainbow patterns, called the session to order. His voice resonated through translation devices in 47 languages simultaneously. "We are here to discuss the incident 3 cycles ago," Thexmar began, "and to address the classification error regarding species designation, human." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some species had already heard what happened. Others were learning for the first time that the cute companion species had single-handedly defeated a Croth-raiding fleet. "Ambassador Velth," Thexmar continued, "you submitted the original classification. Please present your revised assessment." Velth stepped forward, his legs steadier than he expected. He'd spent 3 days reviewing every piece of data about humans. He understood now. An understanding changed everything. "I made an error," he said clearly. "A significant one. I classified humans based on incomplete information. I saw what they wanted me to see and assumed that was all there was." He pulled up holographic displays showing Earth. The blue planet rotated slowly, looking peaceful and beautiful. "This is Earth. By our standards, it is classified as a Class 9 death world. Extreme temperature variations. Violent weather systems. Tectonic instability. Predator species with remarkable killing efficiency. Microscopic organisms that cause deadly diseases. It is, by all measures, a planet that should not support advanced life." The display changed to show human evolution, the long march from primitive creatures to spacefaring civilization. Humans survived this world by becoming its apex predator. They are persistence hunters, capable of tracking prey across vast distances for extended periods. They have endurance that exceeds almost every other species on their planet. They can run for hours without stopping. They can survive with minimal water and food for extended periods. They heal from injuries that would be fatal to many of us. Another species representative, a large insectoid called Crix, clicked his mandibles. Yet they appeared harmless. They played with our children. They named our machines. "Because that's also who they are," Velth said firmly. "That's what I failed to understand. Humans are both. They are genuinely kind, genuinely social, genuinely loving. But they are also survivors. Warriors. Protectors. Both things are true at the same time." He gestured to the human delegation. "Captain Beth Miller, would you like to address the council?" Beth stood gracefully and walked to the center of the chamber. She looked tiny compared to most of the representatives, but every eye in the room tracked her movement. She didn't look afraid. She looked calm, confident, at peace. "Thank you, Ambassador," she said, and her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "I want to start by saying we don't want you to fear us. That's the last thing we want." She turned slowly, making eye contact with different representatives as she spoke. "Everything we showed you over the past weeks was real. We do love making friends. We do bond easily. We think most of you are wonderful. Honestly, Prella's antenna movements when she's excited are genuinely adorable." Prella, standing beside Velth, chirped nervously. A few species made sounds that might have been laughter. Beth's expression grew more serious. "But we're also from a world that spent millions of years trying to kill us. We survived ice ages and plagues and predators. We learned that being kind doesn't mean being weak. Being gentle doesn't mean being helpless. We can be both." Tyler stood and walked to join her. His relaxed demeanor was back, but now everyone understood the capable warrior underneath. "We have a saying on Earth," Tyler said with a slight smile. "Speak softly and carry a big stick. It means be polite, be friendly, be kind. But also be ready. Be capable. Be strong enough that no one wants to test you." Amy joined them next, her red hair bright under the chamber's lights. "We spent 3 weeks learning your systems because that's what we do. We prepare. We observe. We learn. Not because we wanted to attack you but because we wanted to protect you if something went wrong." Kevin was the last to stand. "And something did go wrong. The Croth came. So we did what humans do. We protected our friends." Beth looked directly at Velth. "We chose to be your friends, Ambassador. We chose it the moment we stepped on this station. And we'd choose it again. But friendship means something specific to humans. It means we'll stand between you and danger. It means we'll fight for you if we have to." The chamber was absolutely silent. Thexmar's crystalline body pulsed with different colors, indicating deep thought. Captain Miller, are you saying humans view violence and kindness as compatible concepts? Not just compatible, Beth said softly. Sometimes necessary together. We don't fight because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us. Velf felt something click into place. That was it exactly. That was what he'd missed. Supreme Counselor, he said formally. I recommend immediate reclassification. Species designation, human. New category, dual nature species. Threat assessment, extreme. Combat capability, exceptional. Diplomatic capability, exceptional. Alliance recommendation, essential. Thexmar's colors shifted to a warm gold. Explanation for the recommendation? Velf looked at Beth, who smiled at him. The same warm, genuine smile he'd first seen. Because they're both the friends we want and the protectors we need, he said simply. The vote was unanimous. Captain Beth Miller, Thexmar announced. On behalf of the Galactic Council, we extend full membership to humanity. Not as companions but as equals. As friends. As allies. Beth walked to Velf and extended her hand, that uniquely human gesture. He took it, feeling the warmth and strength in her grip. Thank you for protecting us, he said quietly. Thank you for giving us the chance to prove who we really are, Beth replied. Both parts. The galaxy had learned an important lesson that day. The most dangerous predators aren't the ones who attack first. They're the ones who choose kindness, who offer friendship, who give you every chance to be peaceful. But if you threaten what they love, you'll discover why they survived a death world. And by then it's already too late.